All right, I guess we are live. What is up, everybody? This is Capt.CrockPot. First time doing something like this. So thankfully we have TrueBlue here to walk me through it and make sure I don't
What's up,
stumble
man?
on myself and my tongue too
No, you're
much.
good. You're good. I'm grateful that you invited me on to be a part of this with you. So, thank you.
No, yeah, super stoked that I'm not doing this solo and excited to meet you. Been
Anytime, man.
long time, first time. Been watching you guys and stalking everybody
Yeah,
in the background during all those videos. So it's
yeah,
cool
for
to
sure.
actually be able to kind of meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know me, obviously. Those of you that are part of Captain Crockpot's channel that might not know me, I'm TrueBlue Collectibles, co-host of the Monday Night Unbound show and the Wednesday Night Marvel Roundtable as well. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to be here.
that kind of just all fell into place like very suddenly. How did you become so involved with,
Dude, it's
the
weird. Like,
Marvel and the live
so
stuff and all that?
So I was into Marvel as a kid, like in the 1990s, early 90s, but I wasn't buying it heavily because Michael Jordan was around. So all my paper route money from when I was working went into basketball cards. But occasionally I'd buy a cool card from Marvel. I think my first actual Marvel card was the 1994 Flare Venom, the Maximum Carnage, where he's hanging upside down from the ceiling and the fire's dripping off of it. That was just so amazing, and I just love the art on that set. So that's still today one of my favorite sets. I'm a big binder guy. I love building binder sets out.
Mm,
Nowadays, you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to be in your binders, so I do that.
mm,
But when it comes to like the Unbound and Roundtable, like Roundtable didn't exist at the time that Unbound came out, and they started doing the stream this year to kind of have like a weekly reveal of the cards and stuff. Um, and I wasn't part of that group for like the first week or two. They invited me into the group because they saw that I was doing Unbound too. So they're like, "Hey, you want to come on into the stream?" And I was like, "Sure, pop on in." And then I don't remember what week it was. I think it was like right around like week 10, 13, somewhere in there. After we got done with the stream, we just sat there and chilled and hung out for a while. It was a good 45 minutes to an hour after we went off the air. And we're like, why don't we don't have any content in the middle of the week. Spidey had just changed to Sunday nights. Josh was doing his thing on Friday nights with the Marvel Bros and Friends. It's like there's nothing midweek. Let's do something. Just a hangout session, and invite you guys, chat, to come in and be a part of it and be there. So we started that show and just kind of took off. And we've had some great shows and we've had a couple that weren't that great. And but we understand that's what it is, and um, we're getting back to just hanging out and talking about whatever. This past week we had Chris Reed, Uncle Nasty from Gabe's Cave on, and it was just a really cool hangout. It was an interview, but it was a hangout interview. It wasn't it
yeah.
wasn't like this structured verbatim news reporting type questions. It was just chill and it was fun. I enjoyed it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
been
kind of how Roundtable came out. It was just like we just all wanted to just hang out, just talk about whatever came up. So
and that's what it's been so far, which is super cool. It's unique to be able to
yeah,
just get people from all over that haven't necessarily been able to talk to each other or talk to each other in person, suddenly
right.
put a camera in front of their face and be able to just share this love and bring people together that otherwise probably
Yeah,
wouldn't have
that,
ever
that camera,
talked
the,
before.
the camera thing is definitely the thing that gets a lot of people. Like Melfi just joined us as a co-host. I think this is the second week now. Melfi Collectibles used to be Silent Collects, um, and it's the camera makes people nervous. And we try to make it an environment where you guys feel those that come on the show. We want you to feel as comfortable as possible too. We don't want you to stress out about it. So we try to help out as much as we can with that sort of stuff.
I
And
think you guys,
technical side of things, we try to figure that out ahead of time if we can, and kind of work through those. So I mean, I've been doing video stuff since like 2016 for real estate. So I've
mm,
gotten I've gotten rather comfortable in front of the camera for the most part. It still makes me nervous being live that long, like a couple hours at a time. But what I found out through the real estate aspect is I would shoot a video for real estate and I would do it like 20 times, trying to get everything perfect. And if I stumbled over
mhm,
my words, I shoot it again and I shoot it again. And I'm like, I got to the point where I was like, I don't have time for this. So at one point, I was just like, I don't care if it's perfect. If I
yeah,
say something
just
wrong, I'll just fix it in the next shot,
right.
or
Adds
just edit
character.
them. or just edit. Yeah, it adds character. It lets people know that you're human too. So.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I do demos essentially for a living of software, so my computer is always on, and I'm essentially live. So I wasn't anticipating being as nervous as I am now. But as soon as that little live button popped on, oh my gosh, I had like
You're
frogs
live
in my
recording.
throat.
Yeah.
Suddenly, not sure what to say. I feel like an idiot. I can see myself here talking to the screen. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's tough because it's like, where do you position it? Like you're on your phone, so that camera's right in front of you. So for me, I'll kind of explain like how I am, like, because it looks like I'm looking off to the side. So the way my windows are normally set up, I have 3 screens. My computer's over here, I have my screen here, and then I have another screen that's kind of auxiliary screen here. But my camera isn't my laptop camera. I have a webcam that's right here, but where that's positioned so I can actually see the screen, I have to put you like here to like be looking at you, and then like half the stream is off the screen. So it's weird. So it's definitely this weird mix of how things are laid out. And then you kind of want to have some backdrops. So it's like, well, what do I want for my backdrop? So I went with my Marvel Legends, but I got my light boxes over here for taking photos for eBay and stuff. And yeah, everybody's limited in the space that they have. Not everybody can have a massive museum or something behind them with all their stuff laid out. So
seriously, yeah, there's been a bar that has been set by a few people.
Yeah,
it's hard to live up to that bar.
That's the thing, is anybody that's trying to make videos, and yourself included, even myself, I have to remember, like, what I have is what I have, and I can't let what other people have dictate myself. So
absolutely. Well, so that brings me back to kind of something you mentioned earlier, and that's remembering your first card, which is interesting because I also remember my first card. So I wonder if people that are still collecting, if that's something common that everyone kind of remembers or has a sense for their first card. Mine was, I think it was 95, the Wolverine acetate.
Okay,
cards. I remember, I think the very first pack I ever got was on Easter morning, and we used to do like Easter baskets, as a kid. And so my mom would hide candy around, and the candy would lead to this Easter basket. And I remember being, I can't remember how old I was, but ultimately got an Easter basket, opened up one of those packs, and in the very first pack was that Wolverine acetate card. And I was just like, oh my gosh. You've been doing YouTube stuff for a while though, because I saw one of your videos was like bass tag fishing, and another was fixing cars, and another is
funny. People subscribe to me and they're like, dude, why am I seeing you like fix the floor of a house and tag fish? And I was like, that's just what I recorded when I first started doing YouTube stuff.
Tim the Toolman Taylor in your second life.
It was like 2012 or something when I started my channel, 2010, something like that. We used to live in Lower Michigan, and we had a 9-acre property with like state land was all around us, but we had a 3/4 acre pond, and it was completely loaded with fish, too many. So what we were doing essentially was tagging them to cull out the other fish and just keep those 50 fish in there, and then let them reproduce. And then that way we know, okay, if we hit this one, it goes back. If we pull anything else out, it comes out, trying to maintain the habitat. So that way they could actually grow to a decent size to enjoy catching. Yeah, I get people all the time like Retroverse told me the other day, he's like, I just watched your video about how to change the brake caliper on the car.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I watched it. I just watched it.
But so you've always been interested in making some type of like YouTube content then?
Yeah, but not to the extent like I wanted to be like a YouTube creator or anything like that. I'm getting closer. I think I just hit 800 yesterday during the roundtable stream. And it's like, thousands a great goal, but the goal isn't to make money with it. It's to, as many people want to watch my content, that's great, but it's to share everybody else's content. Like we were sharing YouTube channels left and right towards the back end of that roundtable show last night, just to kind of get more exposure for everybody to say, hey, there's all these other people that are out there that are creating content. Watch some of their stuff too and see if you like it.
Yeah. Why do you think there's so few or so little like Marvel card specific content? Because there really isn't many options.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the fear of the camera. People are nervous about the camera. But like when you first start out, I would say one way to overcome that fear of the camera is just have it facing away from you. Don't have yourself on camera.
Yeah.
But it's tricky though, because like you're opening a box of cards or talking about cards, but you're not talking to anybody. So you have to have this imaginary conversation in your head as you're going through this and explaining stuff to people. But I think the reason that there's so few Marvel ones It's just because it's such a smaller community when you look at it from the grand scheme of things. Like Pokemon and sports cards are massive, and
Hmm.
if people objectively looked at it, sports cards are nothing when it's in comparison to like the number of people that collect Pokemon cards. You know, like sports
Hmm.
cards are, yes, it's collected internationally, but it's more of a U.S. thing still. Um,
Yeah.
and Pokemon is just this international just frenzy every single time a set comes out, whether it's Japanese set or American set, or English set, I should say. Um, but when it comes to Marvel, it's still very niche. Like there are people that collect worldwide, but it is such a
Hmm.
small amount of people that are actually collecting cards. Um, and I don't think that people will ever stop collecting Marvel. I think it's, you know, the more people that create content, the more exposure Marvel will have. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because more exposure means more people buying into it, which then means probably higher pricing because now companies are producing more stuff or raising the prices because more people are buying their supply and demand sort of thing. It makes it harder for some people to get some of that rarer stuff when people learn about it. So from that aspect, I'd say that's why there's so few Marvel creators is people don't, I think some people don't want the exposure for the community yet,
Hmm.
but I think the exposure for the community is good for longevity. I think it's very good for
Absolutely.
longevity and growth of the hobby. So,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting because you mentioned Pokemon, which essentially is introduced late 90s and has
yeah,
just taken off, where you have Marvel, this IP that has been around for over 100 years now, essentially at this point, or close to
yeah,
it.
yeah, really
And
long time.
for some reason, you have Marvel Lego collectors. Oh, are we good?
Yeah, you're good.
Technical issues. You have Marvel fans all over the world, like Lego collecting, Marvel specifically, pretty big niche. Toy collecting, Legends, Hot Toys, niches, yet still seemingly much larger communities than the cards. It's like for some reason, despite Marvel taking off, the cards specifically trail behind, and I wonder why that is.
Yeah, and it could be any number of reasons. My thoughts are that people don't connect as much with the pieces of cardboard with the art on them as they do with, you know, the
Mm,
toy that they played with when they were a kid or something like that. Like it took the specific kids when we were younger to like, I want to buy a box or a pack of Marvel cards, and I'd
mm,
rather have that and put it in my binder as opposed to let me get this action figure that I can play with all the time. You know what I
mm,
mean? So I think people have a deeper connection to the toy aspect of it. Um, when it comes to like how that card community can get to that or how there could be tie-ins with the other things is the companies need to start working together. I think, you know, like back in the 90s we had the Toy Biz stuff where you got the toy and it came with the card. You know, if
mm-hmm,
there was ways to accomplish that, then I think that could draw more people into the card community. Otherwise I
mm,
think it's just exposure for the card community and showing the joy that we have for it, and it's going
yeah.
to be slow natural growth. You know, COVID obviously pushed a lot of people into the market realm. PMGs were a big thing because it is a transfer over from the sport, so people saw some value there. But as other sets get made that don't have those specific cards in them, how many people are going to stick around for those?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're going to see actual growth is when you start making sets like they did this year with Annual, where it's a cheap set, $85 a box, $90 a box, wherever you can find that for. Um, when it's as good as it is and you're getting hits out of them like you are, and it makes you feel good about opening a pack of cards, that's when you'll get more people in. The past couple of years, I'll use Annual again as an example, where it was like, okay, you're searching for two cards in the entire box, and that's really it. Now you have canvas cards, you have the silver parallels, which look amazing. You're getting a couple hits in the box as well, with the chance of hitting some nice serial number stuff. They brought back some of the early 90s inserts, like the suspended animations, that's the acetate ones. They
Mm-hmm.
brought back the backscatter stickers. I think if they continue to do that with entry level sets, that's going to bring people in. Having blaster boxes for $20 where you're getting a blue out of every single pack, it makes you feel like you're getting something. And that's where sports, a lot of times when you open up sports, it doesn't feel like you're getting anything most of the time.
Mm,
You used to go through like 12 packs and nothing to get to the one card in the box. But I
mm,
think if Marvel continues, well, Upper Deck, I guess, technically continues to improve the sets and listen to the community and bring back some of that nostalgia stuff, it'll have growth that's natural there. So
It does seem to kind of require that fine line because you think of sports and about getting value out of boosters and packs, and you hear a lot of people complain about how, boosters are just a waste of money. So then
mhm.
they start introducing all these different numbered parallels, which then when everything's numbered, it's like nothing is numbered. Like
Exactly,
every
yeah.
single card is
Unless you got
numbered.
something numbered to 25 or less, you don't have anything. Yeah. So it doesn't matter that the
Exactly.
first number to 200 or 150. And I think the Fleer Ultra Avenger set concerned me a little bit because I saw that looking at the checklist. I was like,
Hmm.
okay,
Massive.
we've got this parallel, we got the base card, then we have we have the orange parallel out of 549. We've got the green parallels, just the unserialized number parallel. And then you've got the out of 360 and the out of 141 and the out of 63 and the out of 10 or 25 or whatever it is. And then the 101 is just like, okay. And every single insert is numbered that way. I'm like, okay, I think we're getting too close to that sports line boundary now. Where what do you do in the next set? How do you make that better?
Hmm.
Right. And if the answer is to add another parallel, well, it's probably not the right answer from the Marvel collector side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting dichotomy, and I'm not jealous of the people that have to walk that line because I'm sure that that's what they spend
Yeah.
a lot of their time doing is figuring out how to put together these sets in a way that makes you feel like you do get something. And it's interesting because my welcome back to the hobby was X-Men Metal and then Spider-Man Metal, and
Okay.
then some Fleer Ultra Avenger boosters, just because I thought the value compared
Hmm.
to the box
The
was
hobby
pretty,
box. Yeah.
yeah, pretty substantial. And I felt like when I opened these, like I was getting something of value out of it. I felt good about my $30, whereas I think it
Yeah,
was a
for sure.
combination of the size of the stock, but then some of the cards. I think that the original art was interesting as well. Not, I know it wasn't the greatest art from a lot of people's standards, but the fact that it wasn't just repeated or reused, I think is just makes it
Exactly. Yeah.
special in a certain sense. But then the heft too, compared to like a really small package, I
When
think
you go
just
from a
goes.
Spider-Man metal to that, and you just feel the card, and you're like, man, this just feels good.
It does. And it's interesting because before being able to experience a smaller stock versus a large stock, I was thinking in my mind, why does a thick stock make it quote unquote premium? But as soon as you experience it, it does
Mhm.
feel like a different, more premium experience. And it's kind of hard to like say, find the right
It's
words,
hard to
but
vocalize that and get somebody's mind to like process those words
mhm,
into actual feelings because they haven't done it themselves. Yeah. No, I agree. Like
exactly.
the blaster boxes for Fleer Ultra were nice. I felt that the orange, having that orange parallel only be for the blaster, I thought that was a
Yeah.
great thing for them to do because you're still getting a serial number card per box. You got some inserts in there. You can't get any of the other serial numbered cards in the box, right? Other than that comic cut, or not the comic cut, the I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember if you get the comic clippings or not. I don't think you can. I think
I
the
don't
only other
think they
hits you could
did.
get is like that you could hit the jambalayas in there,
You could. Yeah, it was like
right?
one
And,
in
and
nine
yeah, it was
thousand or
a
something.
ridiculous, but there was a shot. You had a
There was a
chance,
shot.
right? So to be able to hit one of the bigger hits in the set and still be able to pull that out of a $30 box, sure, people that buy the hobby boxes exclusively aren't happy with that because that's one less in their hobby box that they could hit. But you got to have something beyond just that orange parallel in the retail
Mhm.
product too. It's going to be interesting to see with some of these premium sets moving forward. Like, do they do a retail version of masterpieces? Obviously, masterpieces, that's one of their elite sets, thicker card stock, everything's serial numbered, so it's limited printing. But do you do a 25, 30 point style card for masterpieces? Same artwork, nothing's really serialized, but you can collect a base set of that artwork at least, and then have maybe a retail exclusive. I think they might do something like that. I mean, I have no sources with that, but I think it'd be fun to see them do that, where you can pull some people in to at least the interest level of those exclusive sets.
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder if they could almost do like a non-numbered version available via retail of the
Yeah,
like numbered exclusive. but that also kind of waters down the images, right? I think the whole idea, and part of the reason why Masterpieces is what Masterpiece is because it is original and it is limited, and you can't just
Yeah,
find them everywhere. So again, it's that dichotomy, that balance of, and maybe
yeah,
that's the key. Like maybe the key is to have two different, like, just classes of sets. You have your premium sets that are only available in retail, but then you also have your, or in hobby, but you also have your introductory sets that are just
that you
made
could get.
on a
Yeah,
mass
and I think
scale. You
that's
can
a good
find in any
balance.
store.
I think that's a good balance. Or like you could, I mean, honestly, they could probably take. I know I'm not the only person that has this opinion, but they could probably take like the movie sets and just make those exclusively retail. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
And then that
Perfect
keeps your
example.
premium sets hobby. You know, because you're still putting product out there that people like, that are they're familiar with, that they have, like younger people can make a connection to because they see these characters on screen. They can now make
Exactly.
a connection through the cards themselves. Whereas we didn't have those movies growing up. We had Batman, you know, but that was really about it. We had the 90s cartoons, and that's how we made our connection to the characters,
Yep.
was through those cartoons and through the comic books.
Exactly. Dude, that's a great point. I think that you bring up an excellent point because that would be a perfect bridge between being able to capture all the Marvel movie fans,
Hmm.
introduce them to card collecting in a way that they're going to relate with, and then as they can get into the system, if you will, they can
Yeah.
branch out from there. But that's a perfect bridge to not
And
only
if
to
they could make
introduce.
those retail, because you could do like Pokemon level packs, like single packs. You could do
Yeah,
blaster boxes, and you could do essentially equivalent of sports mega boxes where you get a few more packs, you know, like an ETB style. And you could do that with all these movie sets and have those available all retail. But then make sure the retail stores actually get some of that product. Like our stores around here, I think we've gotten like 3, maybe 4 boxes of each of the different sets at our
mm,
stores. And then that's it. Like we don't get restocks of them or nothing. It's crazy.
mm, that is a good point. Yeah, I guess then you have to deal with the hurdle of scalpers and rebuyers and backdoor deals and all of that. But
But I think
I
when
guess as a,
you're making the retail product to connect the two entities of the movies, and it's just strictly retail, you can print as much of it as you want as long as people are
yeah,
buying it, right? So
yeah,
the scalpers really kind of go out the window, because if you
it's true.
produce so much of it that they can't make any money off of it flipping it, then there's no need for them to go and buy it. Now they have to try that out over the course of a few sets and see
Hmm.
where that number comes in, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm. Yeah, I think that would be the ideal situation. It's interesting, I wonder if Upper Deck is having these types of conversations. I like to think that they are. Everyone in the hobby
you,
it
we
seemingly talk
hope, we
about it.
hope.
So I would
But
hope that they are.
yeah, but the
What?
thing is, being a company, they have an objective. One of a public company's primary objectives: make money for their investors, right? That's
Yeah,
that's one of their number one goals. But in order to do that, people have to buy your products, so they do have to have those conversations. It's just they don't share those with the public, and it would be
yeah,
nice. I mean, they don't need to, but it would be nice if there was some sort of actual community outreach from Upper Deck side to say, hey, look, these are some of the sets that are going to be coming up, and this is a realistic time frame of when these sets are going to release, not hey, we're going to release it in January and then 5 months later it finally releases.
yeah. Absolutely. We need to have some type of schedule, if for nothing else, to be able to plan how we plan on how we
One
plan to spend our money,
exactly, yeah.
if
You
you
can't
will.
you can't don't give us a bunch of crap sets, because that's the only thing that's there. And I say crap, I mean lower end sets,
Right.
like all the movie sets. Just stack all the movie sets up and then drop 3 4 premium products or high end products on us at the same time. It's like,
Exactly.
because then we're just like, well, where do I go? You're bouncing off the wall. Like, where do I go?
And that can't be advantageous for them because then they wind up with sets sitting on EPAC for months and months like you have now, because they
Yeah,
just
for
kind of
sure.
released them without a plan or organization, which is interesting. I'm curious though, how did you get back into Marvel cards specifically
So
after so many years?
specifically, so it was I really got back into Marvel in like spring of 2022. So it wasn't even 2020 for me. It was like 2022. So we moved to Utah in 2021 July. I started doing some card shows and stuff like that because I had gotten back into card collecting, mostly sports cards. I went nostalgic and bought a bunch of early 90s stuff, stuff that nobody wanted anyway. But I was good with it because I wanted to build binders again. So I started off with that stuff. And then I bought some new modern stuff. But then it was like January of 2022. I actually met Marvel Madness, MCU, and Scanned Out Cards and Comics at one of the local shows because we live like within an hour of each other. And I met them at
Nice.
one of the shows they had set up one day, and I was talking to them about their cards, about like what sets are good, how to get back into it, where should I start, that sort of stuff. And that's when I just went back online. I started watching videos. All right, what sets did I like when I was a kid? 94 Flair, the X-Men sets. Those were the ones that I went after right away. Those are the ones that I first bought into. And then for modern stuff, it was all right. Low. Let me start off low entry, see what I can get, see what I can build, see what I like. So I started off with like annual. I didn't really buy any movie sets last year, but it was like annual. And then I bought some boxes of X-Men metal because X-Men metal was already done on EPAC by the time I was getting back into Marvel. And then Spider-Man metal was like my first real set that I got into. I think I did like 14 boxes of Spider-Man metal. And then Fleer Ultra. I got into Fleer Ultra. I was late on the pre-orders on Fleer Ultra already, even by the time I had gotten back in, because it had taken so long for that set to come out. But I think I did like 10 hobby boxes and 3 to 6 blaster boxes of Fleer Ultra. But then I was able to start getting into the pre-orders ahead of time. So I was actually getting in at those earlier entry prices where everybody wants to be when the sets are first coming out, like that first drop. But then I started to notice that my hobby shop actually has the boxes more times than not for just under what the initial pre-order sale was. I was like,
wow,
why do I want to tie my money up for 6 months? I can just wait, pick a couple boxes up from him later on, see where the values go, and then maybe pick something up online secondary or through David Adams once prices kind of stabilize, or EPAC. So yeah, I mean, so basically that reintroduction just came from, I was getting tired of sports cards. Like even after getting back into it, I was just getting tired of being concerned about what was coming out of the box. Like I have to hit something to make my money back to justify this. So I was like, well, what can I do that I can actually enjoy and not worry about what I get back out of it? Like I can open a $300 box and be okay with that, and just did I enjoy the set? Did I enjoy opening it? Do I enjoy building this set? And if the answer to that is yes, then I'll probably buy more of it. So
it's awesome. So how did you decide on like what character, or how do you collect? Do you try to build sets of everything that you get into? Do you collect certain
it's
characters? Like what's
not
your
every set.
strategy?
So like going back for previous sets, I go through tradingcarddatabase.com, so tcdb.com, and I use that to kind of go through the sets, look at some of the images, and then I watch online some videos of those different boxes to see what sets I like or will be interested in. Maybe I pick up a box myself, open it up, and see. Obviously, the early '90s stuff, it was easier to get close to a full set. But now it's just like, okay, seeing the preliminary art, do I think I'm going to like this set? You know, I had my qualms with the Fleer Ultra Avengers. I'm like, I don't like the stripes, like the silver stripes that are on the cards. A lot of people didn't like them. It detracted from the card. But once I got the card in hand, I was like, they're not terrible. They still could have been better, but they're not terrible. Now, some of the cards, they are terrible. But like my favorite card from that set is the Black Bolt. And the way Kai Kakao tipped his artwork, the lines work well with it. The Black Widow, same thing. But there are others where the Venom, it looks terrible with the Venom. You know, it just takes away from the artwork itself.
Same with the Wolverine.
But as far as when it comes to collecting, I have all my binders are back here. These are all full of different sets that I'm working on finishing, and it's a pretty big 2-row section. And I've shown my Fleer Ultra Avenger binder before. It's like a 5 or 6 inch thick binder that I'm working on building for that Fleer Ultra set, because it's the base cards, it's the green cards, it's all the inserts and the greens for those, it's all the other inserts, like the base levels of those, not necessarily the serial numbered versions of them. Now, character wise, my top character is Wolverine. I just loved Wolverine growing up. Black Cat's right there. I love Black Cat. But for me, those 2 characters, even though they're 1 and 2 for me, they are expensive at times. Like it's hard to buy cards because you're competing with so many different people. So myself, I went with Domino as my third. I love the way that characters drawn most of the time. I'm not a big fan of like the early 90s style where it almost looks like she's got like a face piece on. I'm not a big fan of that, but I pick and choose. Like I don't go after like every single one. So I bought I got through the redemption process through Upper Deck and a trade, I ended up with the 2013 Fleer Ultra Domino, the red PMG. So that's probably the
Nice.
biggest card in my set that I own,
That's
other than my
awesome.
Green Vision from Spider-Man Metal. But I went and picked up the X-Men Metal, the high and low reds. I picked up the pink for the high series. I purchased the out of 21 hologram from last year's annual set. So I pick and choose, and I've been eyeballing a few sketches and eyeballing some other serial number short print cards, but I've also been eyeballing some cool looking cards that are just $1 or $2 single cards, cool, that have cool art on them, you know, and I'll put them in a top loader and put them in my domino rows and leave it there.
So once you find one of those cool like $1 domino cards from some random set and you get it,
Mhm.
home in hand, how likely are you to then build out that entire set, or are you able to just
It
stop
just
with
depends. It just
domino?
depends. So, like the box that you're going to open today, it's a great set, and it's a set that I want to build out. It's just not a box that
Mm,
I've bought yet. Like I'm not going to send stuff to the signing. Like I have no desire to do that. But there's like a one that I just purchased is a 2009 Archives domino, but it's not pack fold autograph, but it is signed by the artist that created the art, and it's the same art that's on the 2013 Fleer Retro domino
mm,
PNG. So it's the same exact artwork. So I'm like, and it's got the artist autograph on it. So I don't care that it's not pack pulled. I think that'd be cool
yeah,
to add to my collection because then I can get the
yeah.
base card too. And then now I have the base card of that from 2009, the autograph card of that from 2009, the 2013 Fleer Retro PMG, and I'll work on getting the other ones as I go for those. But yeah, I just, for me, it's just, do I think the sets, not necessarily value, but do I like the art and the design of the cards? That's how I decide which
Mm.
sets I want to build.
So you're
So
not necessarily going after like certain sets or certain inserts or expensive number cards or things like that. Really, you're just looking for cards that
yeah,
catch your eye, and then
yeah.
if they catch
And
your
I
eye,
like, so my biggest Wolverine card is the X-Men Metal Pink Wolverine, the low series. So I
mm,
have that one. That's the one out of 75. And I have the book, the X-Men, the Return of Wolverine #1. I have that in a CGC 9.8. It's a great book. And I was debating if I wanted to get the pink graded by CGC. And then I'm like, why do I care if that's graded by CGC? What would make more sense to me to grade with CGC, the pink or the base card? And to me,
mm.
ultimately, it came down to I would rather get the base card in a 9.5 or a 10 and put the base card with my comic book because the art's going to look the same. If I grade the pink and I
But it
put that
has
with
a
my
pink
comic
hue.
book, it's got the pink hue. It doesn't match the book at all. So I went that further step. Like I don't care about the value of it. Which one makes more sense just visually for me? And it was the base makes more sense visually to me than the pink does. So the pink is just in
That's
a one
awesome.
touch, and it sits on my desk, and it'll probably never go nowhere until I die. And my wife sells all my stuff for pennies on the dollar. So
Don't say that. Blasphemy.
she'll keep all the storm cards and get rid of everything else. So
So she's kind of into it then through Storm, it sounds like.
she like I've offered her some storm cards in the past, and she's like, "No, I don't like that one." I'm like, "Okay," and then I just put it in
Oh, it
my
just
binder.
depends on the.
Yeah, it just
So she's a
depends on.
picky Storm collector.
She's a picky storm collector. Yeah, she's not like high value or anything like that. It's just which one looks cool. Same process as me. Does
Yeah.
it look cool?
Yeah. No, I mean, makes sense. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah,
So one of my biggest qualms with card collecting is how cards are stored. And
sure.
seems like a lot of people take cards and they put them in boxes and then put the box on the shelf, and then the card just sits there in the dark and is never seen, or they put them in binders.
Hmm.
But like, how often are you taking out the binder and flipping through it? But clearly, you love the binder, and I
I,
imagine.
I
Well, I don't want
love
to
the
answer for
binders.
you,
Yeah,
but what is it about the binder that you like so much?
it's not even the flipping through thing because I don't flip back through them. It's just
You
the I can
see,
if I wanted
exactly.
if I wanted to, if it's a way for me to easily know what I need to complete that set. It's the completionist aspect of it.
Mm,
I can put a slip right in the binder that says these are the cards I need, but I use TCDB because I can just go to that and I can trade on there, or I can send people my want list link from there. If there's, hey, what
mm,
sets are you looking for cards from? And I can go, here's my link. They can go to that set and see exactly which cards I need already.
mm.
And then if I'm trading or buying something, I put that basically in transit, saying that, hey, this trade has happened and this card's coming to me, so I don't inadvertently buy it again. But yeah, it's just the completionist thing. Now, like stuff
That's
that I'm
smart.
not keeping and stuff that I have doubles of. So like I'll show you real quick here. I'll show you these. I still have another stack I have to do yet, but this stack is all my double. Well, most of them, probably about half of my doubles of Marvel Annual from the boxes I've opened so far.
Oh wow.
These are it's just base cards,
Yeah.
base cards and inserts, but every single one of them is penny sleeved. Why the hell would I penny sleeve Marvel Annual cards? Well, because if I sell them or trade them to somebody, they might
Yeah.
want them in just as good a condition as they came out of the box.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's
the
what I
same
do.
way.
And then what I do, like if I do like an eBay listing, I'll put them up on eBay. They'll go into a box. They'll get marked with a specific row and identifier. So that way, when somebody buys something, I know exactly what box to go to pull the cards out of. But every single one of those cards is penny sleeved. Every single card I have on eBay is penny sleeved or top loaded. And it's the, I don't want to say salvation, that's not right, but it's the preservation of the cards. So that way, maybe 10 years from now, just like with the 1990 MU, you know, and the 95 Fleer or the 95 metal, those sets that are now 20 plus years old, 30 years old, where are these sets going to be in 30 years? You know, even if I still have them just sitting in a box, I still want them to be protected at least.
Yeah.
You know, and keep the dust off them and try to keep some of that wear and tear down. So.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, from a filing and kind of storage perspective, you know, that makes sense. I just wish there was a way to be able to enjoy them more regularly and out in the open without having to.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of different ways. Like you said, some people will take an entire set and they'll put them in a box and it just sits in the box and you can open that box and file through it. And in the long run, that probably takes less space than the binders do. Because when you figure like the Fleer Ultra Avengers binder, I mean, that's massive. That's like 5-6 inches by the entire 8.5, 12-inch by 12-inch binder, right? Like put a 4-row box and get all those cards in half of that 4-row box. So it takes up more space than a box would. But for the purpose of knowing what I have, being able to just flip through the pages and seeing that, hey, I'm missing this card. Where's this one at? My checklist says I have it, but I don't. Where's it at? And then I can find it, sort of thing.
Do you have any issue with damage in the binders at all, or is that something you think about or worry about? Or
no, it not really, because I don't put the high end cards in there.
Okay.
Because I know sometimes when you're standing the binders vertically, one issue is sag on those pages. They kind of sag down as they get weighed. So you take the risk of getting like indentations on those innermost cards, those inner 3 cards that are closest to the rings. There's people that use like the Pokemon style binders where they're essentially sewn in to the binder itself. But like for most Marvel sets, I wouldn't be able to do that with because they're too big or the cards themselves are too big, and it would just take so many of those to binder up like a Fleer Ultra Avenger set. It would because of the thick cardstock, it would take too many of those to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But any of those ones where the binder starts getting super big and super heavy, I just lay those flat. But I'm going to try to find a way to get like a box that it can slide into where the box will hold the weight if I set anything else on top of that. So.
Smart. Yeah, there you go. So what's your like goals for, I'm going to start to crack this open here. Yeah. Well, what's your, let me switch the camera. Do you have any like current goals that you're working towards from a collecting standpoint?
Not really. Like I'm not going after, so when it comes to like Wolverine and Black Cat, the way I always view them is if I can find something cool that's cheap, I'll pick it up. And cheap is, you know, open to interpretation for everybody because everybody's level of cheap is different. But when it comes to those cards, more or less, if I don't pull it, I'm not worried about it. But when it comes to the domino stuff, that's where I'll be like, all right, now I start looking at comps, seeing if it makes sense for me to buy a card. Like I picked up the low series from X-Men Metal PMG for $51, and I think the comps have been selling at like right around $75, $80, $70 to $80. So I got a really good deal on it. But otherwise, I mean, if I wouldn't have saw that deal, even at 75, I probably would, yeah, I'll pass. I'll wait till next time, you know. And it's not that the card's not worth that. It's just for me, it's not something that I'm that concerned about pulling in high end stuff.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you can get a good deal on it, obviously get a good deal on it. That's part of the fun, actually, for me. Is I love like watching the auctions and trying to get a good deal on things.
Right. So you're opening the X Force. What year is this again? This is the 90.
91, I think. Isn't it 91?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 91 X-Force. Yeah, I've never opened these before. There's just a little indentation at the bottom of the box here, so hopefully no issues there. But feeling this box compared to a Spider-Man metal box, oh my gosh, this thing is hefty. Like, this feels like when you hold it in your hands, like you're holding
Yeah.
something.
And this is the Comic Images made this, right?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
that's right. Have you opened any of these before? Do you have
I
any
have
of these
not.
cards?
No, I have not. But they've got some really nice art in here. And then the artist is Rob Liefeld, right? And he's doing the autographing soon with CGC. They're doing the submission stuff for that.
He is, and that's what kind of sparked the interest here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on ComC and try to pick some of these first Deadpool cards up, but they're way overpriced right now. Like, Deadpools are on ComC for like
I think a lot of that is
$30.
because people see that people are trying to pull them and trying to get them, so they get them in the ComC, and then they're trying to sell them. Make money on it when you can.
Yep, I think that you're right. This is the first pack in the bottom. This is one of the bottom packs I was worried about, but It doesn't seem like the cards were affected at all.
Yeah, they've got a decent size seal flap on them that gives them a little cushion in the box, which is good.
Yeah, no, I mean, they look pretty decent. No, just like dings.
But you can pull a pack pulled autograph out of this too, right?
You can, yeah. So on the yellow, I believe all the pack pulls are going to be on one of these yellow bordered cards.
Yeah, and I think they say specifically on them signature card or something like that, or autograph card. I think so. But then the back is just white with his autograph on it.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly from one of Alonzo Collectibles videos, they were showing that.
Oh, did he hit one?
Yeah, I think they hit one in one of the breaks they were doing. I think it was.
Man, I must have missed that.
I think it was a cable. I don't remember exactly, but
that's pretty awesome. I would love to hit one of those here.
Yeah, so it's basically, it says autograph card. So instead of having like the X style on it, it's more of just the rectangle border versus having the X border. And then it says autograph card on like the bottom right hand side of it, and then the back is white. So you see how that has like
pretty apparent.
That has those like triangles indenting. Yeah, so those aren't there. It's just the upper right and bottom left corners are kind of boxed in, and then in that bottom right it says autograph card.
Okay, so it'll pop out.
It'll be pretty apparent.
Okay, that's good. I just hope we get some Deadpools. This is 2 packs and no Deadpools. Come on.
And it's pretty good number of packs in here too. How many packs are in the box?
Yeah, gosh. Oh my gosh. There's a lot.
It's a good amount of them.
50,000, I think.
Probably like 24 or 36, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
when you're looking at like a 90 card set, I believe this one has.
I think it is 90 cards, yep.
Yeah.
So probably be able to get close to 2 sets, really.
Yeah, it seems like you always end up missing like the 1 or 2 cards to finish that set off.
Hey, first Deadpool.
There you go. There you go. That one looks like it's pretty well centered too. Maybe a little bit off on the left side, but
yep. And then there's just a little white down there.
Yeah.
And then I can't tell. Do you see on the black border here? There's like
it's kind of looks like shiny, like it's missing some of the paint or something there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's supposed to be part of the card, so that's probably a surface issue. But at least we got our first Deadpool. So how did you choose Domino? Because that's kind of a more obscure character.
I really like the way she looks, man. Especially a lot of the modern stuff. Yeah, it's she's cool. She's cool as far as like her storyline in the books and stuff like that. Her power is essentially this insane amount of luck, right? Everything falls her way. And there's another Deadpool.
Yep. Another Deadpool. And look at the issues with the surface. You see that?
Yeah, all over the Deadpool song. I
Yeah,
wonder.
that's crazy. What
You
is
haven't
that?
noticed
I
like any
mean,
sticking. You haven't noticed sticking or anything with them, right?
no. And
Hmm,
there's no gloss on these cards, or it's a
right.
very light gloss. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know why it's like peeling.
that's disappointing.
I guess it's why these cards are hard to gem. I think the gem rate was like less than 1.5%.
Yeah, it just didn't. They just didn't put as much effort into the quality in these ones as they did in some of the other sets.
Yeah, and you can tell when you hold the cards, they feel like one of those old like baseball pack of cards that would come with a stick of gum.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kind of like the what's that? The McFarlane era ones with like Spider-Man and the Wolverine ones. The
Yeah,
from then to now sets, they're very, very thin.
yeah, very, yeah. But I do like the art on them. I mean, first Deadpool's always nice. So, what did you think? Did you have any thoughts on how Domino was portrayed in the Deadpool movie? Because it wasn't necessarily the traditional looking Domino.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. I think the actress that was in that did a very good job with it. It's going to be
She
interesting to
definitely
see
did.
how they implement her in future stuff.
Yeah, she definitely killed it. That's for sure.
I would like to see them come out with an X Force set. I think that would be really cool because then we get some of these really like secondary style characters like Domino and Cable. And Deadpool's not a secondary character; he'd be the primary one in the set. But there you go,
I love this
New
card.
Mutants '98.
Yeah, I love this. Hopefully, we get a couple more of these bad boys, but this one doesn't look like it's got too bad of surface issues.
Yeah.
So, are you pretty up to date on the Marvel films as well? Or
I haven't watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movie yet, but we've watched everything else.
do you have a favorite?
Favorite movie?
Yeah, of
Oh
all the Marvel
boy.
movies.
Um, are we including the X-Men movies in there too?
Yeah,
From
I think you
Sony
can include
or
those.
just the Disney ones?
I think you can include those.
um, yeah, I mean, I think the first X-Men movie is probably my favorite, even though it might not be the best. No, I'm gonna scratch that. But yeah, I'd say Old Man Logan's probably my favorite one, and then um, secondary to that, I'd like to say Iron Man, like the first one, but it's not.
Mm,
It's yeah, it's so tough because there's so many good ones in that first stage. There's so many good movies in that first stage. Um, I really liked the first Black Panther movie. I really
mm.
enjoyed that. Just the CGI in there, what they did with the character development, and the growth of the characters in there. I really enjoyed that. So I put that probably at my second favorite.
Yeah, Black Panther was solid. So, Old Man and then Black Panther.
Yeah, that's the order I'd probably go. I mean, I wish I could say like one of the first couple X Men movies, but I mean, overall, I mean, and I have to remember too, it was the '90s, early 2000s, so the CGI wasn't as good as it is now, but it was still better than it was when Star Wars came out.
Yeah,
So
that first X-Men movie where Wolverine kind of is like discovering his powers seemingly, and
mhm.
he fights, I think, the Blob in the bar. That movie was fantastic.
Yeah, I think some of the reason why I don't go to that one is, I wasn't thrilled with how Rogue was portrayed in that.
Yeah,
There
fair.
was no, we didn't have Gambit in there at all. We did, I mean, like not like real Gambit. We didn't have, the Magneto was fine. I didn't mind that, but like Sabretooth, it just wasn't the Sabretooth I grew up on.
Yeah,
So,
Sabretooth
stuff
was
like
kind
that
of
just
fun.
kind of like, it could have been better.
Definitely. It just a lot of nostalgia for me, I think,
Yeah, for
with
sure.
that movie.
So who's your favorite character that you collect?
Well, if you couldn't tell, Deadpool is definitely my number
Deadpool's
one.
up there, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, he's my primary kind of focus from a collecting standpoint. I have a lot of like handmade Deadpool masks as well.
Okay,
I have
cool.
a mask that was made by the people that made the mask for the film, so it's like as accurate as I could get.
Sure.
So I have a couple of those, and then I have a couple of like Deadpool toys and stuff like that, hot toys and things.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah, just Deadpool primarily, and then I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who I could focus on as like a secondary character because Deadpool is pretty expensive typically.
He is, yeah. And then as the movie gets closer and closer, I think he'll be one of those characters that you can actually see some fluctuation based on the movie.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I really like Silver Sable cards. Um, Not a lot of Silver Sable collectors seemingly, so those cards are
Yeah, there's
relatively
not,
cheap.
is there?
But then I also like Spider-Man's girlfriends, like Mary
Like
Jane.
The Gwen Stacy's, the Mary Janes, yeah.
Exactly, Gwen Stacy.
That was
Not a lot.
that third one there. I think it was the blue one, just before the yellow one. That one was an interesting choice. Yeah, that one there. That's an interesting choice with the perspective on the artwork there. Like everybody else is so far back. There's so much negative space on the card. It's interesting that they chose to do
It is. And his like bag looks like he's carrying a bag of potatoes.
that.
Interesting choice for a card.
So for you, what would make this a successful box opening? Just getting a nice condition Deadpool out of here?
Yeah, so there's I think three Deadpool cards in here that you're looking for. This changes one, and then the blue
Yep.
one, and then there's another card where he's like
It's like
jumping in the
horror.
air and like shooting at
Yeah,
you.
it's like horror. It's a landscape style, right?
Yeah, landscape style.
Okay.
So just to be able to get a handful of each of those would be a win, and then hopefully one of them is pretty decent condition. But this one doesn't look too bad actually. The corners on all these are nice and crisp. Well, as I say that, there's a nice ding in the top left right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, I was kind of hoping, I'd be able to get a box, maybe pull 110 or 9.5, but I don't think so by the looks of these cards.
Well, hopefully it does happen. So
Yeah, we've got 52,000 packs left, so it could.
And these are not easy packs to open either. These are like very stretchy. Like, so if you're trying to pull them open, it's very stretchy material that they used on
It
these, if I
is.
remember correctly.
Yeah, it's almost like some sort of like rubber
Plastic
material
wrap.
built
Yeah, it's like a
inside of the
plastic
plastic.
rubber wrap or something.
Yeah, it's funky. That's why I figured I'd just cut the tops off.
Safer bet.
Make it a little easier.
Reduce your chances of bending the corners on it when you're opening it.
Exactly. So I got two Spider-Man metal boxes, and in the first one I opened, I hit a green War Machine,
Oh,
and
nice.
I struggled to get that in a penny sleeve.
Just shaking so much. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just like all over the place. Just couldn't do it. So
I did. My only green came out of EPAC, so I didn't have to worry too much about that.
oh, that is nice. I thought I saw you hit a green on a live, but maybe that wasn't you. Did you not get your vision on the live?
No, not on the live. I was flying. I was actually in Ohio at the time, the same day that it came out, and I was on my way to Texas for my connecting flight, and I had bought 12 packs and a box on my way, and I had pulled the green at the airport in Dallas. There you go.
You pulled the green at the airport. Did you like yell?
No, I was recording it though, so I sent the video to the guys.
That is too awesome.
But
That
yeah, I
made
know
your trip, I'm sure.
yeah, for sure. Scandell, he had pulled like during one of the live streams. He's like, I'm not buying any more packs. I'm not buying any more packs. And we could see him like he like went off stream, but you know, like when somebody goes off stream, you can still see their. Mine do that to me all the time.
I hate
So
those stupid stands.
I've got like the tripod ones too, and what I'm switching over to is these style. I'm switching over to this style. It's a
Do
flat
they work
base.
better?
Yeah, well, because you can move it forward and back. You can move it forward and back based on what like angle you want it to be on. But the cards never tip over with these. But like, yeah, I've got those triangle style ones too. I mean, this one doesn't close up, but they're so unsteady. When like you
They're the
just bump them a
worst.
little bit and they tip over on you.
Yeah, I walked
But
past
yes,
them and they fall over.
Scandell was like in the background, so he wasn't like live on the stream. He was like, we could see him down here in the bottom of the StreamYard thing though, and he was doing something. Like, what are you doing? And like I popped him back up, and he just opened a green. I was like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be sharing that. But yeah, he was pulling
I think
greens
I was
left and right.
watching that stream.
Yeah,
Actually.
I think it was a Scarlet Witch.
Oh, yep, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did watch that while you guys were on there. He hit a couple of greens that night, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did. Which is crazy because then everybody else wants to keep buying because like, oh, he's getting that many, I can get some.
Oh, dude, I'm pretty sure it convinced me to buy a box or two.
Yeah. So how's this
yeah,
one surface issue wise? Same kind of stuff.
just
The black.
yeah, I don't think it's supposed to have that whitening on the upper
I
head
don't
up
think
there.
so.
But
I'll try to pull some images up while you're opening and see what we can find.
yeah, I'd be curious. I was looking at graded versions of these, and the highest I was able to find for sale was a 7. So I haven't looked up to see if there actually is like a 9 or 10.
Yeah, there's a 9 PSA 9 that somebody's asking 179 for right now, but
Okay.
that seems steep to me.
Yeah, I would.
There's a PSA 8 on auction. Yeah, even like some of the raw cards, I'm not seeing that whitening that you're seeing on the black.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot. I wonder what that is.
I hope there's at least a couple packs in here that have him in there that doesn't have that. It's got to be something with like much like the sticking aspect, but the paint might not have been all the way dry or something.
Oh, yeah.
So the cards just sliding back and forth, rubbing on each other, just kind of wears it off.
Yeah. Now this one looks pretty solid, actually. Still just got a little bit there.
Got a little bit there on the black still, huh?
And then can you see the like green bleed a little bit on the yellow?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm just glad we're getting a bunch of Deadpools now. I'm happy with.
At least give you some. That'll give you some options at least.
Yeah. I think it's always far-fetched to expect to be able to get some good grades out of some of these older boxes, but you always think it's going to be you.
It's not easy. It's not easy, that's for sure.
No.
And I think that might be part of the reason, very small part of it, but that might be part of the reason I do binders, is because I don't have to worry about the condition of the card because it's just going to go in a binder anyway. How's that look?
Still just top of the head there.
Just kind of right where the mask lines are, huh?
Yeah. Back centering's a little rough too. It's okay. I do like this beast card though. I don't know why. I wish there was like an insert in this set though. Just one insert.
Yeah, there's nothing other than the autograph, isn't there? It's just the It's just the 90 cards and then the autographed.
Yeah.
And this says, so at least this checklist thing says that they only did 1,000 of the autographs as well.
Oh, wow.
Like
I
in
wonder how
total.
many boxes they printed.
Oh man.
100,000 boxes or more.
Yeah, that'd be pretty tough. So the fact to see somebody pull one on a live stream, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, 1,000. Not good odds. What are your thoughts on getting like PMGs graded? Or not graded, but
I grade it.
autographed rather.
I don't care. I mean, somebody wants to do what they want to do with their card. That's their business. So, but I see both sides of that perspective that's been discussed, right? It's my card. I want to autograph it. It doesn't matter if it adds value for somebody else, but does it diminish the value of the card? And it does for the people that want to do the set collecting, right? Like if you only have 10 greens and you get a green autographed, now there's only 9. So the 10 people that might be trying to build a set of greens now can't do that because now there's an autographed one, right? So it takes it out of circulation. Now that also makes those other 9 in theory more valuable because now there's only 9 that aren't autographed. So there's the catch-22 of it. It just depends what side of that fence you're on as to how you perceive it, as to how you perceive, whether it's okay or not.
Yeah, for sure. But so you're saying that autograph card that would no longer count towards the set building because it's been autographed or altered.
Yeah, I would think most people that are doing set building from like a truest perspective, like, hey, I want, even if it's the oranges out of 25, we'll use that as an example. The oranges out of 25 from Spider-Man Metal. If there's only 23 of them in existence that aren't autographed anymore, well, that's 2 people that, if there were 25 doing an entire orange set, there's 2 people that can't do that now unless they sacrifice their set continuity and go, okay, I'm just going to deal with the autograph on this, right?
Yeah.
So I get why people that are not on board with the autographs on the serial numbered stuff don't want it to happen. But I also respect people's right to do what they want with their own stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, there's not like a right answer. It's just personal preference.
Yeah. And I think before somebody has it done, they have to determine what's the intent of this card. What am I doing with this card? Is this going to be with me forever? And if it's not going to be with me forever, and the intent is to sell it after I have it signed, then you have to really consider whether or not that makes sense to even have that card signed, because it's not really going to improve the value of it, especially when there's pack pulled autographs of the artist that can occur.
Right. Yeah, exactly. On potentially the same image even.
Yeah.
So do you think that in general, if you sign or have like a card or limited edition card signed in general, do you think it devalues or adds value? Or again, does it just depend on?
I don't think it does anything. I don't think it honestly does anything to the value of the card. I think it's the value of the card. And like if it's raw, signed or unsigned, like it's a little bit different when you're talking like a guy like Todd McFarlane, because you couldn't pack pull his autograph from that set. So in order to get his autograph on those Venom cards and the Spider-Man artworks and stuff like that, anything from the Spider-Man Metal set or any set that you couldn't pack pull his autograph, you had to send it in, you had to get it signed. That's the only way you can do it. So for somebody that's collecting Todd McFarlane stuff, that makes sense to have that card signed if they wanted to. Would be really interesting is if somebody had the 101 Venom.
Yeah, so kind of case by case is what I'm hearing.
I'd say so. I think it really, case by case, depends on the card, depends on the artist for the artwork of the card. Are you able to pull that artist out of that particular set? And then, what is your intent with the card afterwards?
Would you ever personally get a rare card autographed?
Me? No, because I don't care that much about it, honestly. Like I was saying earlier, like the Domino from 2009 archives, it's already autographed. So I don't have to go through that process of finding the artist to have them autograph that card. It wasn't pack pulled, but that's fine for me. Like I
Right.
purchased a Rogue Joe Jusko autograph from 1992 Masterpieces, and it wasn't a pack pulled one. It's just one of many that he has signed. But I like the card, and I was like, you know what? It's a good price. It's got his autograph on it. I'll pick the card up. It's a character I like. But like Flair Ultra, I pulled two autographs from Flair Ultra. I pulled the She-Hulk, which is Tom Fleming, and then I pulled the Winter Soldier, which is Kai Kakao, and
Oh,
both
nice.
great autographs, great cards, you know. And I would love personally to have the Black Bolt Kai Kakao, and I've mentioned this on stream before too. Like, if I ever found somebody to add that and was willing to trade, I'd trade for it, and it wouldn't even matter to me if my card was worth more. Like if the Winter Soldier or the She-Hulk were worth more, and that's what it would take for me to get that card.
Mm,
I'd do that. And I'm not a Black Bolt collector. For me, that art is the best in the set for me. Like that's the
that's
one that I
awesome.
like the most.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. It's cool that you can just focus on, the cards that you like, regardless of character. But if the card
Yeah,
speaks to you, you're like, I'm going after it.
exactly. Yep.
So I think some people pigeonhole themselves, and I think that's one thing that I was struggling with. I was trying to figure out like, how am I going to collect? Am I going to just buy Deadpools? Am I going to like rainbow Deadpools? Am I going to go for sets I like?
Yeah.
Like, what should I do? And then ultimately, I realized I'm just making this more difficult than it needs to be. I should just buy the cards that catch my eye and that I think are cool.
Yeah, exactly. And just when you do that, just make sure whatever you're paying for the card is a number that you're fine with. If the value goes down or up or whichever sideways,
Yeah.
you gotta find whatever way is best for you. Like I build sets and then I also buy some individual cards for a few characters. Um, but that's not the way everybody collects, and that's what makes this fun. Is that not everybody collects the same way, and because it's a little bit different than it is with sports cards in that you have the same characters year after year after year after year. You don't get too many new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with sports, you have rookies every single year.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it a little tougher um, to be a set collector in the sports realm or to be a team collector. Whereas when you're talking in the Marvel realm, you can, like you said, it can be a very deep rabbit hole with individual characters, and that can be overwhelming. You
Mm-hmm.
look at the number of cards that are out there for specific characters. So you really do got to weigh your options. What makes the most sense for you from a financial standpoint as well.
Absolutely. And overwhelming is a good word for it, especially being like reintroduced to the
Mm-hmm.
hobby or relatively new to it, because there are like so many different Deadpools. For me, I was able to realize, okay, it makes sense for me to focus on Deadpool. But then from there, like, which Deadpool cards do I want and why? And you can easily start to, like, I actually almost bought a Kai Kakao autographed Silver Web Deadpool from 20, I think that was in the 2017 Fleer Ultra set. And I
Yeah, and the
didn't really
Spider-Man.
know, yeah, yeah. And I didn't really know why I was buying it or interested in it. I mean, I liked the art, but it didn't like stand out to me above other pieces per se. And
Right.
so I kind of had to have this like talk with myself to realize like, are you buying Deadpool cards just to have Deadpool cards, or are you buying the ones that really speak to you? And then if that's the
Right.
case, there's probably cards outside of Deadpool that are going to speak to you. So why are you just taking those off the table without even giving them a proper consideration? So I'm
Yeah.
still kind of trying to find my focus, but I think my focus is becoming clear the more I kind of think about it. One of the first um, things I bought was, for some reason, the M card in X-Men Metal caught my eye, and it was cheap. So I bought
Mm-hmm.
the Omegas of the number of the pinks and the red PMG of M, and then I
Nice.
rainbowed M outside of the green. But then once I had all of the cards next to each other and displayed, I didn't really like how it looked because it was just the same image in slightly different hues. And I
Right.
thought it would be kind of more impressive, at least to my eye, to have different images displayed. So I don't know that I'm necessarily someone that is like a rainbow person either. I think that like figuring out a card.
You're making a great point there, though. You tried a couple different ways to figure out where you want to go with your collecting, and I think sometimes that's what it takes. Is
Mm,
because you can hear people say like, "Hey, this is the best way to collect," or "This is how I collect," and you might be like, "Yeah, that sounds good," but then when you start doing it, you're like, "Yeah, this isn't for me. This isn't what I want to do." And I was doing that with Wolverine initially. It was like I was buying every freaking card for Wolverine, like as many as I could, and it was like didn't matter if it was $1 card, $5 card, $10 card, $20 card, whatever. I was just trying to buy
Hmm.
all the Wolverine cards. It's like I'm gonna have
Yeah,
every Wolverine card, and went, wait a minute,
yeah,
I can't have every Wolverine card. That's just not gonna happen. So why am I doing this?
yeah. We can't all be Fausto. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
and
with
it's
his surfer collections for sure.
yeah. But that is a, I wonder, is that's interesting that you kind of went through a similar evolution as you
Yeah.
started collecting cards because, you know, I would watch videos and I would think, oh, yeah, that sounds really cool to have one of each color scheme and kind of collect that way, build out a rainbow, or maybe focus on a set and build a full set. And, um, but I guess until, you know, I actually did it, I didn't really understand what that meant for me. And then
Right.
I think now I have a better understanding of what that means
And
and
I
how I would
and I
like
think
to.
that's kind of why I'm not pursuing like the pinks and stuff from the X-Men metal sets for like the high and low series domino cards, because like I have the
Mm,
high series um domino in the pink. So I may grab the low series in the pink. It just depends if I get it at a really good price. Um, but I'm not going to go after like all the other color parallels and you know the EPAC achievement ones and all of that just because of this. Yes, that one.
I
Just
love
because of the fact
that
that I'm just
domino.
just because I'm just like you said with the rainbow thing. Like the rainbow things aren't my thing. Like I love the way the red PMGs look. I mean,
Yeah.
not so much the X-Men metal because it's more of like a rose color.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still think the reds to me are my favorite. Like the blues look amazing for the sets that had the blues in them. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking out of 50 PMG. That is not easy to accomplish getting that stuff either. But if I could get like a red and a blue of like the 2013 Fleur Retro Domino, like I have the red
Oh,
already, so I'm already halfway there. But if I could get to where I could get the blue, I would be satisfied. I wouldn't have to try to get the green because to me the green doesn't look that good anyway.
yeah. And the greens are almost unobtainable to me.
Yeah.
Just, you know, I'm just kind of priced out of most of them.
And they're because they are so short printed too. If you're looking at it from like an investment side of things or a move this card to buy other card, have the hobby pay for the hobby sort of thing, they're not easy to move.
You're right. Yep.
They're not
And, you know,
liquid. I mean, they're not
no,
super. They are liquid. They're just not super liquid. It's not like, hey, I'm throwing it up now and now it's gone. Unless you're giving the card away.
exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Unless you're willing to take a price that you know
Yeah.
it's too little.
I mean, and at that point, you might as well just throw it up on eBay 99-cent auction and just let it end where it ends.
Exactly. Yeah. And at that point, I just keep it. But
Exactly.
I
Yep.
I'm running into that issue because I love my green war machine. It's sentimental because I actually pulled it. It was kind of one of the first box, well, the first
Mm-hmm.
box I opened when getting back into cards. And but I would like to move it to be able to get more cool Deadpools. But
Yeah.
I
Same
don't
for
want to
me with
move
the
it
Vision.
for pennies. Yeah.
Yeah. Same
Oh,
for me
you're
with the Vision.
that's what I was going to ask you. So that is your plan with Vision then?
Yeah, yeah, I have him up. I think I have him at like I'm asking like 1900 for him. It's a PSA 8,
Yeah,
but
dude.
I'm
See,
like
that is a great price in my opinion.
I think so too. But you know what? I understand that like the PMG market has calmed down too. But it's one of those cards. It's already a sunk cost. So if I hold on
Hmm.
to it, and have to wait for that stuff to come back around, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting your War Machine graded?
I haven't yet, but
Okay.
it is. I, I have I'm building out a small stack, and I plan to get it graded.
Yeah.
Actually, do you have much experience grading?
I've sent quite a few to PSA. I've done some CGC stuff. I've sent a few things off to Beckett and some stuff off to SGC. So I've tried all the different grading companies.
So tell me your thoughts on this. I've been hesitant to send in a batch to grade
Mm-hmm.
because I've heard that the graders will kind of start to grade the batch you send in against itself. So like if I sent in these four cards it would grade the best one the best, and then the others slightly below it. You know what I mean?
Possibly, possibly. If they're all from the same set, I could definitely see that happening. Or if they're all the
Mm-hmm.
same card, like if you send a bunch of the Domino or a bunch of the Deadpools in to get graded, and they're all the
Mm-hmm.
same Deadpool, that I
Mm-hmm.
could see a grader doing that. Where instead of looking at each individual card and comparing it to their scale, going, okay, this card is the best of these 5 Deadpool
Yep.
cards that are all the same. So this one gets the best grade, and these other ones get knocked down. Where maybe 3 of those other ones still deserve the same grade, but
Yes.
because you saw something just slightly more, then you knocked it down a grade. I could see that. I could see that. But yeah, I kind of do the same thing. I don't send in a bunch from the same set. I don't send in a bunch of the same cards because I have noticed that, like, when you look at the cards, and everybody individually will look at the cards and think it's a better grade than what it realistically should be.
Yeah.
If we actually look at our cards objectively, we can come up with a more realistic number. I try not to send cards in unless I think it's going to get a 9. Like with the Vision,
Yep.
I knew it wasn't going to get a 9, but I was like, it's a green PMG. I want to get it cased.
Yep.
And
And you want to
because
8 with
my
that. That's acceptable.
yeah, and
too.
because my intent isn't to keep the card forever, I went with PSA because I know they have the higher resale value when it comes down
Yeah.
to the actual grades.
Yeah, that's smart. So that's why I actually haven't sent in a batch to grade yet, is because I've been waiting to have enough 9 or 10 potentials of
Mm-hmm.
different sets so that I don't have to send in 10 cards from the same set. I want to just send in one metal card at a time, one of each set at a time, if you will.
Yeah.
What did you think your green was going to get? Did you think it had a
I
shot
thought
at a
it was
9
gonna. I
or?
thought it was gonna get a 7, honestly,
Oh,
because mine,
okay.
mine, like a lot of the greens out there, has that small chip in the top middle of the card from
Mm-hmm.
like when they cut it or whatever was on the blade at that point in time. So in that top corner it has, or in that top middle, it has a little bit of a chip, and then right above the precious portion where it says precious metal gems, there's a couple little ripples in the foil. And then on the back, on the bottom right, there's a little tiny white. There's a little bit of white right there. But other than that, the card looked good. But I thought for sure that that chip was enough with the little ripples that they were going to knock it down to a 7.
Mm,
Because with PMGs, usually it's something on the surface that you can't tell because it's like a
mm-hmm.
pattern thing. So that's where I was like, it'll probably get a 7, and I'm okay with that because it's still encasing the card. And if I can get an 8, great. And of course, I got the 8, so I was like, awesome, sweet, bonus.
Yeah. The 8's pretty big for the greens, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
I
I think
when I first
anytime you end up with a really short print card like that, like 10 and lower, 15 and lower, even, eights have to have more value than just a raw card. With how much these things get beat up and passed around, and
I agree. Yeah, they would have to. I try not to buy 7s, but I think 8s and PNGs specifically, great buy all day.
I think 7 sometimes can be a good buy, especially if you can get it for under the cost of the raw card. If your
Oh
intent is
yeah,
just like if you're a character collector and you can get a 7 for less than the cost of the raw card, buy it, crack it out of the slab, put it in a one
yeah,
touch, and call it good.
yeah. It's a good point. Good point. Absolutely. When I first pulled the green, I was like, "Oh, this is a 9. This is a 9. This is a 9." And then after struggling to get it in for like 30 minutes, and then looking at it like 3 days later, I was like, "Okay, I hope this is an 8." So I'm hoping
Yeah.
it gets an 8. It definitely looks good. There's just one corner that's got a little bit of whitening on, and then at the very base of the card, if you tilt it in the right light, you can see a print line. But
Mm-hmm.
I've been told that they don't judge or grade down cards based off print lines on PMGs. So I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, because a lot of times that print line is more or less like the not necessarily a print line, but more of a foil connection line, like where a couple pieces of foil are put
Mm,
together. Because you'll see that sometimes especially on the greens, where you'll have like a slightly different shade of green on like part of the card, and you see it a lot in like the ComC imaging.
I don't know if you can see it at the very, it's like goes right like a centimeter up through the base of the
Mm-hmm.
card. I don't know
Okay,
if I can
and it
catch the
runs
light.
left to right.
Yeah, it runs like
Okay,
across the
yeah,
card.
you could kind of see it where like the center part of the logo is
Yeah,
on
it's
the
right
right hand side. I can
below.
see it just yeah,
Yep. So I don't know if that's like a print line or a foil connector line. It's
yeah,
very, very light. Like even in the right light, I can barely see it, but
and
I don't know.
that's still a great PMG. Yeah, so mine's got you could see it kind of right at the top in the middle there. Let's see if I get the camera to
Oh yeah,
focus.
the little
Like
just
right,
white.
yep, just that little tiny white right. Oh, can't do that. Like right in the middle, but then like right
Yeah.
here, there's like a couple little tiny ripples in that foil above where it says precious, and that's where I was like, yeah, it's probably going to get a 7 because of those. Because I know sometimes PSA can definitely be tough on like thick cards and like super short print cards, whereas other companies might be a little more lenient because there are only so many of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would like to grade it with PSA because, like you, I
Hmm.
would like to move the card into something else.
Yeah,
But
and I think unless the card is theoretically going to get a 10 with a CGC or a Beckett, then to me it doesn't make much sense unless it's a PC thing to send to them.
now, are you outside of that for your PC? Are you primarily grading through CGC these days?
Yeah, for the Marvel stuff, yeah. I mean, unless it's like a green PMG or something like that, where I'm going to be trying to move the card, then I'll go with PSA just because. But I don't like waiting forever for my card, and I'm not a big fan of paying them XY hundreds of dollars just to get my card back in a couple weeks either.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I can
And I'm
pay
worried.
less at CGC, get it on the market faster, and essentially make almost as much money with it, depending on the grade.
Is CGC selling pretty comparable to PSA?
I wouldn't say they're comparable, but it's a time value of money thing. If I
I
send
see
a
what you're
card in,
saying.
if I send a card in, it's going to take me 3 months to get the card back or 2 months to get the card back from PSA without paying that extra fee to get it back faster. Like if I just send it in on the value submission or whatever, um, the same value submission CGC, I get it back in 3 to 5 weeks most of the time. So if I can get it on the market sooner, the cards haven't come down in value as much in that amount of time from the new release. So I potentially can actually make more money selling the CGC slab early and be first to market as opposed to
Mm,
being third or fourth to market, a month and a half from
yeah.
now.
So
So
that's super important for like a set release to, like you're saying,
mhm.
to be one of the first movers there. For
Yeah,
your own
I think so.
personal though, do you
Yeah,
like
for
to,
my own
what do you
personal
like to,
stuff, it's CGC. Like my sports stuff, I'll send through CSG. Even that's their sports side of things at CGC. Um, I don't really care that much with PSA slabs. I don't particularly care for their slabs that much. I don't like their label that much. I like
PSAs?
I like Beckett
Yeah.
slabs. I love the subgrades. I love the heftiness of the slab. It's like the thicker cards. I love that heftiness that's there, um, and what kind of ties to that. But for the most part, like I said, all my PMGs that I have for my PC, they're all in just one touches. And I was gonna grade them, but I'm like, for me, if I don't ever plan on selling them, why do I care that it's got a grade on the card?
Yeah.
Because I'll
Yeah.
get
I
it
was,
back. I'll get it back, and if it's not an 8 or higher, I'm just going to crack it out of the slab. So then I just spent money for no
anyways.
reason. So it's like instead of taking that chance, I'll just keep them the way they are.
Well, this was fun, man. I appreciate you kind of hanging out and chatting while rip some boxes and find some
Absolutely, buddy.
Deadpools.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed being here and watching you open the box. It's disappointing that your Deadpools weren't a little bit better shape for you. But
What can you do?
hopefully you can find one or two out of that stack that can you can get autographed or be able to pick a couple up beforehand. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, happy to have all of these Deadpools. Didn't have any of these cards, and I like the art on all of them. So just
yeah,
stoked to have them and be able to break the box and get to know you a little bit as well. So it's fun.
yeah, absolutely, man. And anytime you want to come on the round table too, just let me know. I'd be happy to have you on as a guest and hang out and chat some more about cards and comics. So
Hell yeah. I might take you up on that. I mean, it would be fun to meet some of the other people and just start to build out some of those relationships. So that'd be cool.
yeah, for sure. All right, buddy. Well, thanks a lot, man.
No, thank you, man. Really, honestly appreciate your time and just your willingness to kind of embrace new people. And you're easy to talk to. So it's a fun
Thanks. Appreciate that.
conversation. So
Excellent. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your channel for having me here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you later, man.